I want to be cautious with it with these endeavors because the purpose of it is to bring something slightly mysterious and to reframe it in a way that hopefully makes it more simple. But in the reframing, I don't want it to then lose track of the mysterious thing. There's a danger to descripting things, especially important things, in a wrong way. I want to formalize something I believe a lot of you feel. It's related to the urgency some of us feel to get it just right, to find the right word, to put it in the right way, to capture it the way you want to capture it and express it, whatever it is. Lacan, this French psychoanalyst who went far afield in the journey into the wilderness related to society, history, language in particular, and looking at language in which we try to express our psyche to one another, and was quite interested in group unconscious, group think. How and why do certain things stand the test of time? Why the Greek mythology? Why the eternal characters in storytelling? Why these certainly perfectly flavored words that come to describe subtle, distinct phenomena that we all find eerily familiar in their uncanny resemblance to déjà vu? All those words being examples of how did those words condense? What were they describing? What were they categorizing? How did the unconscious groupthink come up and craft these words?
Yes, I am scared.
There wasn't a single person who said, I'm going to label this word for all phenomena and all things. It was a group endeavor of millions of human beings across multiple generations, like blind men feeling the ancient elephant of reality and being like, this word describes this thing I sometimes feel. And even in different languages, having words for phenomena that weren't even thought of or creatively distilled in other cultures. This is the fun part of learning language.
Pourquoi dirais-je autre chose que ce dont il s'agit, justement, dans ce qu'il en est de l'inconscient?
So Lacan pointed out a lot of the risks and threats of the ideas of descriptors or words being kind of cutting instruments.
Gage, ça n'a jamais, ça ne donne jamais, ça ne permet jamais de formuler que des choses qui ont 3, 4, 5, 10, 25 sens. Le sujet supposé savoir.
Siloing things off, describing it in a particular way, calling something someone, labeling something some way that gets it wrong, that then imbues it with something that's off. To just call it good or just call it bad cuts off other parts of the thing. We've seen it in this past decade of the radical nonsense and cutting and black and white thinking and attacking words in media, in news, in politics. This labeling half the country this and half the country that, this cutting, this all black, all white, this not respecting the deep mystery and what we call ambivalence of the fact that multiple things can be true at once, that multiple things can coexist within the same entity and phenomenon at once, that the jungle or the person has multiple canopies, that they have good parts, bad parts, that everyone has original sin, they have some blindness, that a lot of people actually mean well, that people aren't so totally deplorable that they cannot be reconstituted, that they cannot be rehabilitated, to cast out the other bads and to pretend that we're all the goods. This radical and dangerous, emotionally driven, cutting distortion in words. I speak of the risk of this even in the form of trying to create certain theories that are too imbued with one's own pride or projections, that it may end up getting things so wrong or Pied Pipering people so much that it leads them to a negative, disastrous end. Not to be too abrupt, but these memes or mental viruses and things, even including, yes, communism, I mean, the track record, it being so alluring and it leading to a crash out so often.
Listen to this story. There's a law professor at the University of Illinois, Chicago, named Jason Kilborn, whose crime was that on one of his exams, he used a hypothetical case where a black female worker sued her employer for race and gender discrimination, alleging that managers had called her two slur words, the type of real-world case these students might one day confront. And knowing the extreme sensitivity of today's students, he didn't write the two taboo words on the test, just the first letter of each. He was teaching his students how to fight racism in the place where it matters most, the criminal justice system. But because he merely alluded to those words, again, in the service of a good cause, he was banned from campus, placed on indefinite leave, and made to wear the dunce cap. No, not really the dunce cap part, but our American version of that. 8 weeks of sensitivity training, weekly 90-minute sessions with a diversity trainer, and having to write 5 self-reflection papers. A grown-ass man, a liberal law professor. If you can't see the similarities between that and this, the person who needs re-education is you.
As I do these videos, I'm always very cautious of my own potential blindness in this affair of attempting to describe myself in an earnest fashion. I fear doing you harm. I fear not getting it right. I fear misleading you. Not wanting to spread any blindness or project any hatred or anger or whatnot inside me upon you. Lacan spoke of this threat, spoke of this getting it wrong. Or this hypocrisy, or this black and white thinking, or this splitting behavior, or this convenient, cowardly categorization of things psychologically in our world in which we struggle, that we try to put everything bad outside us and only keep the good inside ourselves. This ridiculous, vain blindness in which we then lead everybody to get lost.
Alors, je voudrais encore ajouter que j'interviens au moment où j'ai envie d'intervenir et que, disons que l'ensemble, ce qui, jusqu'il y a environ 50 ans, pouvait être appelé culture, c'est-à-dire expression de gens qui, dans un canal parcellaire, exprimaient ce qu'ils pouvaient ressentir, ne peut plus, est maintenant un mensonge et ne peut plus être appelé que spectacle.
People to get it wrong, people to then hate one another for projection, for random wrong theory, for convenient framing, for labeling bad or labeling good, and the ridiculous silliness of that dichotomy when obviously it's a mysterious admixture of it all together. So I just wanted to bring to light the worry and threat of that, and to be cautious of it as you go about in your world, for you to be cautious of your own potential ways of getting it wrong, but also to not let the reckless, blind, urgent, pressured, projectionary, cutting ways of it that were so ripe in this past decade to have that dangerous, misguiding impact on you. I had this phenomenon where I had to very strongly bring it up with my sister or sister-in-law as well, in which they were frankly infected by some of the paranoia.
Et ces termes me font rire.
They grew projectionary and quite irritatingly delimiting in my role and my very modest approach to be a godfather to my niece. As I was talking about in the ancestral video, I seek to find the 4 billion-year-old kernel of who my niece is and not project myself, not Lacanian get things wrong about who she is, but to simply focus on watering the ancient entity she is to become the best, greatest form of herself. Pure uncle godfather love with modesty and holding back as much as I can unconscious projection that might harm her. The Lacanian getting it wrong, theorized categorization of things of the past decade injected a paranoia that distraught the holiness of an internal immediate family unit. I realized the toxicity of some of the, they call it, we don't want to overly use vindictive framing on the other side, but the mind virus has been used before for this vitriol, paranoia, division nonsense of the past decade. All good, all bad.
And you have talked about this woke mind virus.
Yes.
In really apocalyptic terms.
Yeah.
You should explain why you don't think it's hyperbole to say things like it's pushing civilization towards suicide. First of all, what is the woke mind virus? And if we don't deal with this, nothing else can get done. Tell me why you think that.
I think we need to be very cautious about anything that is anti-meritocratic, and anything that is that results in the suppression of free speech. Those are two of the aspects of the woke mind virus that I think are very dangerous.
This became damaging, this became dangerous, this became toxic, and became such a distortion from the truth. When the truth of the matter was, I love my sisters. I love Nora. I would probably die for Nora if need be. And that's the reality.
I love you.